G'day viewers, this is Troy from Troy's Digital Arts channel. I was recently given from a friend a Hole on X pinhole camera kit, which essentially you're building a cardboard 35mm pinhole camera. And there's all the pre-cut pieces, which I've already put the camera together. But yeah, you get four sheets of pre-cut pieces that you've got to fold into shapes, and yeah, you glue it together. And yeah, the glue that's been that they recommend is white glue. Well, I tried using this craft glue, but the problem is it just wasn't drying quick enough, and the pieces were just moving unless I hold each piece for about 5 minutes or so. It's not going to dry quick enough, and it'll take me too long to make the camera. So I use super glue instead. Unfortunately, I've got an allergic reaction to super glue for some reason, and when I use it, it screws with my sinuses, and I end up in sneezing fits for a few days. But anyway, back on the subject of the camera. Anyway, it's a nice looking camera. Yeah, much of the knobs and levers are for show, but and the lens and all that. But yeah, the main functioning is part of it is the pinhole here. You've got a on-off slide switch which opens and closes the pinhole. So when it's on, your pinhole's open. When it's off, it is closed. And in the back, the film can, 35mm. This is a 35mm camera. The film can goes into the right hand side. That's the supply. That's the supply compartment, and it wraps around this spindle here, which it's got a cardboard slot where you slot the film into. Then you turn it a few turns, of course all that with the camera backing on it, and then you take your pinhole shots. Exposure times vary from a few seconds in broad daylight to several minutes. It all depends what film you use. It's recommended they recommend you use 400 ISO film, but personally I think lower ISO film would be better, especially doing outdoors, because if you're flipping the switch on, and you get a bit of camera shake, and you're only taking exposures for a couple of seconds, then you end up with a motion blurred picture. Whereas if you're using a lower ISO film and you're taking like 20-second exposure, you only get a bit of shake for the first second or less, and you'll get a much more sharper picture. That's what I think anyhow. But anyway, yeah, in constructing the camera, I made a couple of mistakes, one minor and one very drastic. The minor mistake was I put this top piece on the wrong way around. It doesn't really matter, to my opinion, because I don't really care so much for it as for show sort of thing. I just want to take photos and get pictures on this thing. The biggest mistake I made though was I didn't look at this sheet here and put those black cardboard pieces in. I didn't think to look at that sheet. Well, I had a quick glance at it, but I didn't like. There was no reference to that sheet on the instructions here. I just followed the instructions from start to finish here, and they're supposed to, at instruction number 6, say refer to this sheet here, but they didn't. So that's a fault on the company's part for not doing that, and I believe I reckon more people would have made mistakes like me and not putting those black pieces of paper in. I mean, yeah, they really need to make they really need to make these instructions a bit more clearer. But anyway, yeah, I actually thought that this was all light proof anyway until I shone a bright light through it, and as you can see, light will leak through, which is pretty crap. So it's through the coloured areas the light will actually leak through. So if I'm out on a sunny day, the film's going to be is going to be ruined by partial exposure. Speaking of light leak issues, this camera I reckon, is far from perfect. I know I've seen a video, I've seen examples of photos taken from this camera, and there's like light leaks galore. The biggest flaw I think with this camera is this take-up spindle crank, because light can easily get in under the dial, because I mean it lifts up like that, you know, and the crank is triangular shaped, and so if this comes up just a bit, you're going to have light coming through the gaps between the circular hole and the triangular spindle, and that's a problem. Let's see if I can show it. So you can see there, you can already see there's a bit of light leakage, and if you move this up just slightly, now just slightly, you're going to get light leak coming through. I'm going to have to try and find a way to somehow block the light as much as possible using black tape. Speaking of that, getting back onto the subject of light leakage from the front of the camera into these compartments, the only easy solution I can think of to fix that problem is to stick black tape over the fronts of the camera. It's going to look ugly, but what can I do? As I said, I don't really care. I'm also wanting to take photos on this rather than having it looking as good and spiffy as it does. Anyway, onto another design flaw. This slide switch. It's not in a very good spot. I reckon it should be from side to side, because I mean, you can slide it easy from the bottom, but from the top it's a bit of a pain, because you got this part in the way here. So it's going to be a pain in the bum to push that down, because you can't get your finger fully on the slide switch, and in doing that, you get if you have to end up wrestling with the slide switch, you're going to move the camera in the process, and if you're only taking a very short exposure, you're going to end up with a blurry picture, a motion blurred picture. And another problem I saw, by the way, this is when you use the slide switch. So you got the pinhole exposed when it's on, and you push it, and it's off again. It just simply slides the switch, covering the pinhole. But anyway, another flaw I saw is the when the pinhole is pretty much offsetted from the actual hole of the slide switch. So it was pretty much near one side. So what I did was I cut the hole open a little bit further, just to make the pinhole a little bit more towards the center. So I've done that. Another problem too is the pinhole itself, the pinhole disc. Pretty much, there was no exact markings of where I should put the pinhole. Like no center, no like circle that's been no dotted circle that's pretty much fits the size of the pinhole disc. There's just a big circle on the outside, more towards the outside, and I had to sort of guesstimate where I'm going to put the pinhole. I had to sort of, yeah, there's a few design flaws with this pinhole camera kit. So yeah, the company that made this did not fully think things out. But anyway, I'll make this camera workable. So what I need to do, yeah, as I said, I need to put black tape around the front to block out the partial light leakages going through the cardboard itself. There's already backing paper on the camera back itself, so that's not a real problem. Another thing too, when I put the camera back on, what I need to do is wrap tape around the edges of the camera back plate, because light can get in through there as well. And of course, yeah, I need to find a way to light proof this this spindle crank, because otherwise it's gonna be a bit of light leaking through from underneath the dial. But anyway, once I fix those issues up, I'll have it hopefully pretty well light proof. Alrighty, that's pretty much about it. I look forward to using this camera and hopefully taking some decent photos. Anyway, see you in the next video when I've actually shot some film and developed it. Alright, this is Troy from Troy's Visual Arts channel, signing out.